Who are you and what do you do?
I am Andrew Caldwell, otherwise known as Boogie, and I am one of the brewers of Wild Hop. I've been brewing for about 6 years now or so. Yeah. Mostly in the States, which you may have guessed.
What's your favorite beer style?
Yeah, it really depends, I guess. I think lately, saisons, kind of light lagers, just perfect after shifts.
Yeah.
Beer. Yeah, IPAs. I mean, I feel like you kind of have to say that.
Because you're American.
I mean it, I guess. Yeah, and mixed culture sour. Sour beers.
So you're gonna start putting some barrels in there and doing. Well, you already got that.
Yeah. We started brewing about 3 months before we opened, and that was mostly to establish a barrel program. So.
Oh, awesome. What's your favorite malt?
Favorite malt?
Yeah.
Probably Environment Bills.
Yeah.
That's just like that beautiful, like crackery, like I don't know. It's just I haven't found another Pilsner malt that like comes close to just like how lovely that character is. Yeah.
Favorite hop?
At the moment, I think like probably one of the coolest discoveries I guess I've made personally this year is Sabro.
Yeah.
Partially, it's like the best smelling pellet I've ever smelled. It's like kind of a like candied peach, which I wish I could carry over into the beer. I've talked to a few people. It's like, nah, it doesn't seem like anyone's had any luck with that. But like in the beer, it's just like really like robust and like almost like pungent pineapple. Just works really well with the like hazy IPAs.
Are you gonna grow any hops there on that property?
Yeah. So we've got a small hop yard that's that Chalky, the other brewer and one of the owners, kind of pieced together a few years ago. So we're coming up on our third harvest on that.
Oh, cool.
So that's just Cascade and Chinook.
What's the favorite brewery outside of your own brewery?
WA. No, really love Beer Farm and Rocky Ridge. It's in part because it's for them. And
what do you think the biggest need in the brewing industry is right now?
the biggest need,
Yeah, the biggest need
globally or Australian?
in Australia, but I mean globally as well. Because you're coming from two different perspectives.
Yeah, I think globally, and I mean true with Australia as well, but I think more focus on sustainability and diversity. That's
What do you think the next brewing trend is?
That'd be nice to know. I mean, I think hazy IPA is going to continue to grow for a while. I think hoppy lagers, that like very much a thing, but I think that's gonna. I guess like, kind of the way I see it, like, at least in the States, like during the like kind of the birth of the craft beer scene, like throughout like late 80s through the 90s, early 2000s, especially with kind of the IBU race. It's just
it's crazy.
Making such intense flavors, partially to like distinguish yourself against the big breweries, the big macro. That we've like hit an extreme, and we've dialed it back now. Like I think kind of the trends in craft right now are more like looking for balance. Like still,
yeah, the balance sessionability thing is definitely something that needs to be looked at more. Like, I'm not going to drink. I mean, a lot of people do. They drink a huge amount of those IPAs that are high alcohol, high hops.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, how many do you reckon you could have? You can have more than 6, right? You're gonna be
It's
blasted.
exactly. Yeah. So I think dialing that back, but I also like kind of feel like there's kind of like a sodification of beer happening. That's
Yeah.
partially with hazies and like in the States with like hard seltzers. I mean, you're just making things that don't taste like beer at all. It's like
So
and typically sweet too.
when I first heard of salsa, I was doing a festival. It was a Fresh Hop in Tassie, and we had Tom Shellhammer there.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there going, salsa, thinking, like salsa,
Right.
like salsa dip.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? A tomato fermented salsa drink? What the hell? Like, then I was thinking, maybe corn chips, cheese. Yeah, okay, it's kind of. Yeah, Will from Van Diemen's just hissed himself at me.
No, that's probably it. That's the future. You're living in 2040, man. We're all going to be drinking salsa beer.
It's flavored alcohol, you idiots. Yeah, because I guess it's always hard to know. What do you think of that whole Kvik?
Oh, right. Kind of feels like a miracle yeast, right? Like,
Yeah.
fermented, 30 plus degrees, and it's no off flavors, finishes in a couple days. I'm kind of surprised that, especially like larger craft breweries, like massive production breweries, haven't started transitioning into that now. Like, your tank time gets reduced by like almost 60%. I mean, turn on beers much quicker.
Maybe some of the yeast strains have mutated in that way that they do get something similar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to know. They're always so top secret on those
Right.
strains
True.
that they use. And
Right.
They propagate
Yeah.
the rest of it. It could be possible, but I don't know. But yeah, I think that will be an interesting game changer. For that quick tank turnaround time, especially when you're trying to get stuff out of your smaller brewery. What's your worst infection in a brewery, and what did you do to fix it, eradicate it?
I've had a bread infection, and it kind of worked well with that beer.
But it wasn't meant to be in there.
No, it wasn't.
That's such a craft beer thing. Like, we made a mistake. Let's make it a specialty. Like, I remember there was black malt in the auger, and it was brewed into
right, yeah.
a lager, and then suddenly we have a black lager.
Yeah.
So you had Brettanomyces, and the Brett was there in the brewery. You worked out it was in some kind of
right.
process, but you found it later, so it was still towards the tail end of fermentation. Or was
Yeah,
this once
it
went
was towards the end of fermentation. Yeah, just kind of got some.
Were you using Brett in the brewery at the time?
No.
Wow. Okay. Close
so
to a
actually,
winery
that
or
was
anything?
I think it was either that. I did, and this was kind of where experimentation can, I guess, go wrong. I threw a bunch of oak staves in the fermenter just to condition on for a couple days.
Yeah.
Steeping them in 90-degree water for 20 minutes apparently wasn't quite enough. This is assuming that's where that contamination came from.
Yeah, most possibly.
But,
some Brettanomyces can ferment the wood sugar, right?
Yeah, it's supposedly can survive for quite a long time, like up to 6 or so centimeters inside.
What's your worst brewing mistake?
Yeah. I was second shift on a brew and came in. Started mashed in. Was running a CIP on the Whirlpool and heat exchanger from the first brew, and this is on a 35-year-old German kit with pneumatic valves, and the control panel in which you controlled all the solenoids and valves. Half the light bulbs on the buttons that stopped working, so it was a bit hard to tell what was open and what was closed. And the morning brewer was typically really good at closing everything that needed to be after his shift, and just forgot that day. So I went to transfer the mash into the lauter tun, half of that went into the whirlpool while I was running the CIP, so they got packed into the heat exchanger. And that was like a 3-hour cleanup. Lost half the batch.
It is just that heat of the moment pressure when you realize that real heart racing.
Yeah. It's
Wigging out, second guessing your decisions, trying to phone a friend.
Right. It was like kind of like that sweet spot, like a year into that job, like felt really comfortable in that kit, like almost to the point of like complacency. It was like, oh no, that's good. I know what's going on. So I walked away. Like if I'd actually stayed up there on the brew deck, all right, yeah, Nash is going where it's not supposed to go.
What do you think everyone is doing wrong or right in the industry?
I kind of feel like my answer to both is like kind of the same. I really love the experimentation that's been going on and continues to go on, but which I think is exciting, and like beers change so much over the course of human history. To some degree, some degree it's hardly changed at all, but it's kind of fascinating what beer is going to look like when I'm like 50 years from now.
It gets pretty crazy. So a friend of mine, we studied together at Siebel back in the day.
Yeah.
And we talk quite regularly. And she was talking about this brewery in the States that threw a whole pig's head.
Yeah, that is
at the end of the
right.
cabin. And she's like, damn, this is when the FDA is going to get involved. And I kind of like, because quality and micro is always what I've done most in my career. And, at some point, this is when we're going to let that bacteria evolve, that we get things like E. coli or something being able to survive in those conditions. If stuff keeps getting that crazy.
Right.
Is it still, do you think in the US there's still really crazy stuff like that going on?
Yeah.
Is that where the craze gets too crazy?
Yeah, I would say so. But that, and I think especially with all the fruited beers that have kind of come into vogue, just almost zero effort into making sure that you've got a shelf-stable product. You're sending something out that's either still fermenting, or as soon as it warms up, will continue to ferment or pick up fermentation again, and sending out exploding cans and bottles.
So I did
entirely
a
irresponsible
presentation on this at BrewCon.
Oh yeah.
And I had a snapshot of the last 40 minutes for the large suppliers. So Dave Murphy's video just showed how many re-fermentation, secondary fermentations there were. 40% were diastatic hits, and the rest were just re-fermentation from just either fermenting too quickly or not sterile filtering, not pasteurizing, and having re-fermentation in cans and stuff. Also went really heavy into how diastaticus works and explained the difference between the sugars that you're breaking up, those 1,4 and newer research is pointing to 1,6. And that can get to about 11.5 grams per liter if you use the boiling scale. And the cans and bottles that we use, so the standard craft beer and the standard bottle, they're rated to 4 vols, which is 7 grams per liter.
Yep.
So, and then you hear people go but it'll fail through the base or it'll fail through the top. You only need a slightly little dent or imperfection or something during transit, and it's going to be exploding out the side.
Right. Yeah.
It's not always that's it's the wrong attitude to go, there's a fail safe. It's no, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets scary, right? Because someone will get injured.
Right.
You been to Tassie?
No, not yet. Hoping to next year.
That'll be heaps of fun. I follow a lot of weird stuff on Instagram, like pub carpets.
Right, okay.
Man, check it out. Trust me, there's some cool carpets out there.